The first Steam Next Fest of 2024 is going on right now. Steam Next Fest is an event that Steam puts on 2 or 3 times a year, where they ask indie developers and publishers to showcase their latest titles by uploading free demos of their games up onto Steam. There are literally hundreds of games here. I went through the entire list, picked out a handful that looked interesting to me, and after trying them out, made a quick list of my favorites. Here are some of the best games of the February 2024 Steam Next Fest. First up is, and these are in no particular order, Do Not Press the Button to Delete the Multiverse. This game has a big red button in it, but you're not supposed to press it or else you'll delete the entire multiverse. At least they tell you not to press it. Maybe you are supposed to press it. DNPT BTDTM is a first-person comedy-focused exploration game inspired by games like The Stanley Parable and Title Pending. The game invites you to enjoy various activities, search for secret areas, and discover new ways to annoy the developer. But remember, don't press the button! The game apparently includes a global leaderboard where you can compete against other players to see who can resist pressing the button the longest. It has fun activities like the ability to engage in board games against the AI, explore secret areas, visit rooms like the sports room, the box building room, and even the meaning of human existence room. You can of course also discover and interact with different random physical objects within the facility, and the game has an estimated gameplay time of up to 1 billion years, or however long human civilization lasts. Comedy is super subjective, so this may not be a hit with everyone, but if this sounds like something you'd be interested in and you want to explore a sandboxy world while resisting the temptation to press the button, try out the demo and keep an eye out for the game's release in Q3 of 2024. Next up is Plushie From the Sky. Plushie From the Sky is a delightful and quirky Souls-like RPG that invites players into a whimsical world. In this game, you take on the role of a fallen angel armed with a plushie companion. Your mission is to smack down nightmarish monsters using the power of cuddly chaos. Some key features of the game are its dreamy and mysterious fantasy world setting, wacky combat skills that allow you to fight your way through a variety of corrupted monsters using both close-range and long-range combat abilities, and challenging bosses where you'll be tasked with mastering well-timed dodge rolls to achieve victory. Each scenario the game throws at you can require a different approach, so it'll be a real challenge to see if you can dodge roll your way to triumph. Plushie From the Sky promises an enchanting experience, where plushies become powerful tools against darkness. If you're ready for a cuddly adventure, check out the demo on Steam now, and keep an eye out for its release slated for sometime in Q2 2024. They also have a Discord you can join for discussions and updates related to the game. Grippy Golf is a really creative and fascinating blend of speedrunning and golf. The game's store page refers to it as a 3D platformer, but really this is a golf game with a sticky golf ball and boosting, like almost Sonic-style boosting. I'm sorry, but I can't help but compare every game to Sonic the Hedgehog. It's a condition. Test your skills and precision as you navigate through a series of imaginative levels while racing against the clock. Imagine a golf course suspended high in the sky with sprawling platforms, treacherous gaps, and mind-bending obstacles. Grippy Golf takes the traditional game of golf to a whole new level. Did I mention your ball sticks to things? It sticks to all sorts of things. It's like golf mixed with Katamari Damacy. You get to hit around a big sticky ball with a golf club. This can get really challenging too, particularly if you try to play with a controller. I definitely recommend playing with a mouse and keyboard if you can. I also feel like Grippy Golf would benefit tremendously from a competitive multiplayer mode. You could go head-to-head with other players in thrilling races to see who can reach the hole first, all while your golf ball is sticking to stuff and you're trying to make it not stick to stuff because that would make it lopsided, but you can't because there's stuff lying around everywhere. But sometimes you do want to stick to stuff because sometimes you need to stick to things in order to knock other things over or to access different areas. It's just a really creative idea. And on top of that, you can boost, and sometimes it feels like your golf ball just flies wherever the heck it feels like it. Not at the fault of the game, but there's just a fairly substantial difficulty curve. I could see this taking hours and hours to get really good at. The golf ball even explodes like a Rocket League car when it reaches the hole. It's fast, it's chaotic, and I kind of love it. I just wish it had a multiplayer mode. This next one is really a hidden gem. Virtua Unlimited Project is a 2D pixel art style action game where you play as a VTuber character. But if you're not into VTubers, don't let that throw you off. Virtua Unlimited Project looks like it could be a generic anime game at first glance, but it's so much more than that. It draws heavy inspiration from the Mega Man Zero series. It's a 2D platformer where you have an arsenal of weapons and techniques at your disposal. You get a gun, a charge shot, a sword, a dash, an air kick, a special move they refer to as a support skill, and you'll obtain other abilities as you progress through the game. With classical platformer gameplay, challenging combat, and a retro game aesthetic, Virtua Unlimited project presents you a surreal virtual world where you can play as Aizawa Kana and venture into the world of Neo-Babylon to fight with VTubers capable of different superpowers. There's also this complex story that they throw you into right off the bat, if that's something you're interested in. I wasn't super hooked by the story, but it looks like there's a good amount of thought and depth behind it, so I could see that being a big draw for other players. You can even jump into the transition doors and hover through them sideways, just like in Mega Man. Gradient Flow is a free-to-play minimalist racing game, but it feels more like a floaty marble game, similar to Marble Blast Gold or Marble It Up. There's no jump button like there is in those games, but the floaty physics make up for it, because you can really launch yourself off of some of these ramps and get a lot of air. There are also some gravity shenanigans going on here, reminiscent of Mario Kart 8, where your wheel can sort of stick to the track magnetically. I could see some really neat speedrunning techniques coming out of this game. I can't wait to see someone speedrun it at a GDQ event or something. I can see why this one is free to play. It has a few bugs in it they need to work out. For example, occasionally when you hit the quick restart button, the game will start you off facing the wrong direction, so you have to do a quick U-turn to get back on track. When you hit the start button, it brings you straight back to the main menu. No pause screen or anything like that, just immediately back to the start menu. And then when you try to get back into the game, it allows you to play the last level you completed, but it won't let you start the next one again. You have to replay the last level you completed again for some reason a second time before it'll let you progress to the next track. That being said, this is one of those games that's absolutely perfect for just chilling back and zoning out to, in the same vein as games like Race to the Sun or Super Flight. The music, if you can call it that, is just sort of a series of atmospheric noises. So if you want, you can just turn that off and jam out to your own tunes while playing. It's super chill. I also was apparently one of the only 3 people in the world to complete the last few levels of this game at the time of recording. So that was cool. Lastly, there are some honorable mentions I'd like to include that I don't have quite as much to say about. Tori Saturn and Frogun Encore were both playable during last year's Sonic Amateur Games Expo, and I've already talked about them a fair amount on the channel, but just as a quick refresher, or in case you haven't seen those videos, Tori Saturn is a fast 3D platformer reminiscent of the speed stages in the early 3D Sonic games, where you play as a round bird with sunglasses and a backpack. Very fun. And Frogun Encore is the sequel to Frogun, an old-school 3D platformer inspired by retro N64 or PlayStation 1 style games, where you play as a girl with a frog-shaped grappling hook. Dreamcore is a body cam styled psychological horror game based on the liminal spaces aesthetic, where you can immerse yourself in non-linear worlds while solving puzzles. It has some really cool looking environments to explore, but the movement is so slow, it makes the whole thing a little frustrating to navigate. Back to School looks really graphically appealing from the screenshots, with its overly detailed environments, but it's 26 gigabytes just for the demo, and there's no way I'm downloading that. I wanted to try out Photography Simulator too, since it vaguely reminds me of Pokemon Snap, except much more realistic with detailed lifelike environments and real-looking animals and people instead of Pokemon. But unfortunately, the game won't run on my Steam Deck and won't get past the first loading screen without crashing on my Windows PC, so I guess we'll have to save that for another time. And I also really want to play Sushi Ben, but I only have PlayStation VR and no PC VR headset, and currently Sushi Ben is only on VR, so I won't be able to try that one out for a while. And lastly, Chunky Tomato is a game where you have to cross the road without being hit by a car, otherwise you'll end up as a chunky tomato. Did any of these games strike your fancy? Maybe you played something I didn't cover here that you thought was really good? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.